All right, in this explainer, we're going to challenge one of the most basic assumptions we have, the idea that we are solid, stable things. We're going to explore a pretty radical shift in perspective, seeing yourself not as a fixed person, but as a living, breathing, ever-changing process. Let's dive in. So let's just start with this question right here. Instead of thinking of yourself as a noun, a finished object, what if you're actually a verb, a continuous event, a constant state of becoming? This isn't just some philosophical game. As we're about to see, it's a deep biological reality. This slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the common view, the body as this solid thing you have. But on the right, that's where we're headed today. The body as a flow, a dynamic event that you are in every single moment. It's the difference between being a statue and being a river. Okay, so to really get our heads around this idea of being a process, we first have to look at the pattern of life itself. It turns out there seems to be this universal signature, a kind of geometric shape that just keeps showing up at every single scale of existence.
And it's wild when you start looking for it. From the unimaginable scale of a spiral galaxy, all the way down to the perfect spiral of a seashell. And then you look inside yourself, and there it is again, the double helix of your DNA. Even your heart, which we used to think was just a simple pump, is now understood to be a helical vortex, twisting and pulling blood through it. This is not a coincidence, folks. This is the geometry of flow. It's the signature of life in motion.
So if everything in life is based on this pattern of flow and motion, how can you be a fixed, solid object? Well, the truth is, you aren't. A far, far better metaphor is to think of yourself as a whirlpool. Think about it for a second. A whirlpool has a recognizable shape, right? A stable form you can point to and say, hey, there's a whirlpool. But the actual water that makes it up is never the same from one moment to the next. It's a stable pattern made of constantly changing stuff. And that is exactly how your body works. You maintain your form, your pattern, while the raw material is always, always in flux. So just how much flux are we talking about here? I want you to just take a look at this number. 98%. What on earth could that possibly be referring to? Get this. That's the science of what's called total atomic renewal. Almost every single atom that makes up you right now was not a part of you just 1 year ago. You are literally rebuilding yourself atom by atom from the food you eat, the water you drink, and the air you breathe. You're not a fortress. You're an open-ended conversation with the universe. Now I know, this idea of atomic renewal can feel a little out there, a bit abstract. But you don't actually need a powerful microscope to see this process in action. You have tangible physical proof of it happening with you right this very second. Let's just look at your own breath. We can think about it as this 4-part cycle. Every time you inhale, that's an act of creation. You're pulling the world in to build yourself. Then there's that brief pause at the top, a moment of fullness, of being. Every time you exhale, that's an act of dissolution, releasing parts of yourself back out into the world. And in the silence that follows, that's a connection back to the source, where the next breath, the next moment of creation is born. This cycle is your life, moment to moment. And that right there, that is the whole point. Your breath isn't just some boring mechanical function. It is the direct, felt experience of you as a process. It's the physical evidence that you are not separate from the world, but in this constant, rhythmic dance of creation and dissolution with it. You are the source, in motion. So this brings us to a really fascinating question then. If your process in constant exchange with your environment, where do you actually end? Because the boundaries are nowhere near as clear as your skin might make you think. There's a cool scientific term for this, developed by biologist Francisco Varela. It's called autopoiesis. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's from the Greek and it literally just means self-creating. A living system, whether it's a tiny cell or a whole human being, is defined by its ability to constantly produce and maintain itself. It's like a machine that's constantly rebuilding and repairing itself, an ongoing project of self-making. And here's the paradox of it all. You are structurally open. You absolutely need air, food, water, and information from the outside to survive, but you're also functionally closed. You somehow maintain your own distinct pattern. And what better symbol for that self-creating, self-sustaining loop than the ancient Ouroboros, the snake endlessly devouring and recreating itself? And this whole idea of being an open system, it doesn't just stop with atoms. Think about your mind, the way you think.
The extended mind thesis argues that your thinking process isn't just locked up inside your skull. When you jot down notes in a notebook to organize your thoughts, that notebook becomes a part of your cognitive loop. The people you talk with, the language you use, they're all active parts of your mind. Your self literally extends out into the world around you. Okay, so if we are a self-creating process, constantly rebuilding ourselves and even extending our minds into our environment, well, that leads to a seriously empowering conclusion. It means we can actually consciously participate in our own creation. For the longest time, the old view was genetic determinism, this idea that your DNA is a fixed blueprint and your fate is sealed. But the new science of epigenetics has completely flipped that on its head. It shows that your DNA is much more like a massive library full of potential scripts. And what determines which script gets read? Your perception of the environment. You aren't a victim of your genes. You are the reader of your own blueprint.
So how do you do it? How do you become a better reader? Well, this is where a practice like mindfulness comes in. By becoming present and aware, you can interrupt the automatic playback of those old subconscious programs. You can actually stop the tape of past conditioning and start making conscious choices in the now. This awareness literally shifts control from your body's autopilot to the conscious mind, letting you author your own biology.
And that's really what we'll end on. This isn't just a neat intellectual exercise. It is the fundamental reality of your existence. The person you were a year ago is, on a material level, pretty much gone. You are constantly under construction. So the ultimate question isn't really, who are you? It's, with every breath, every thought, and every action, who are you choosing to build?